Umiki village smelled of rain-soaked earth and sawdust. The scent drifted from the carpenter's shed where Nemeka bent over a wooden frame, hammering in silence. His hands moved with practiced ease, but his mind was elsewhere. He hadn't spoken to Adogo that morning. Again. The voices in the compound had grown louder lately, not in volume, but in tension. Every cough from Mama Ima's throat, every whispered judgment from the neighbors clung to the walls like mold. But what cut deepest were the silences, especially from Nemeka. Inside the house, Adogo folded clothes with slow, mechanical motions. Her belly was beginning to swell, barely visible beneath her loose wrapper. She hadn't told anyone, not yet, not this time. It was her third pregnancy in 4 years. The first had ended in tears. The second nearly ended her life. This one, she was afraid to name it. Hope was dangerous. "Adogo!" Mama Ima barked from the courtyard, startling her. "Yes, Mama," she replied, stepping out quickly. The old woman squinted at her. "You're walking like your bones are breaking. What is it this time?" "Nothing, Mama." Mama Ima looked her up and down, disapproving. Some women bring wealth into a man's home. Some bring rot. Adogo bit her tongue. She wanted to scream. Instead, she bowed her head. That night, Nemeka came in late, smelling of timber and palm wine. He didn't greet her. She brought him water anyway. He drank in silence. "Nemeka," she whispered. "Can we talk?" He didn't look at her. I think I'm pregnant." He froze for half a second, then placed the cup on the wooden stool beside him. "How far along?" "Maybe 3 months." "Don't tell anyone," he said flatly. "Not yet." She nodded, heart sinking. There was no joy in his voice, no relief, only fear. 5 months passed. Her belly grew, and with it, her caution. She avoided the market, stayed indoors, ate carefully, followed the village nurse's every word. No herbs, no lifting, no stress. Only quiet prayers, whispered into the night over the swelling that moved with tiny kicks beneath her ribs. By the 7th month, Nurse Mama Enki looked at her with wonder. "It's growing fast. Maybe it's twins," she said, laying warm hands on her stomach. Adogo didn't smile. She only nodded, eyes shadowed. On a muggy night just before dawn, her screams tore through the courtyard. "Hold her legs! Push now!" Mama Enki shouted. The pain was endless. It came in waves, stealing her breath and replacing it with fire. Hours passed, then a cry, a loud, defiant cry, then another, quieter but steady, and then silence. A long, terrible silence. "No, no, not now. Breathe, child." Enki worked fast, sweat pouring from her forehead. Finally, the last baby emerged, small but alive. "They're all breathing," Enki whispered. 3 of them, girls." Adogo, exhausted and soaked in sweat, opened her eyes weakly. "Girls." "Yes." She smiled. Her lips trembled. "They're alive." Outside, Mama Enki found Nemeka by the gate, arms crossed. 3 healthy girls," she said, catching her breath. "Your wife is strong." "Girls," his brow furrowed. "All 3?" She nodded. He turned without another word and walked away. Inside, Adogo waited. The babies were swaddled beside her, soft and warm against her skin. She listened for his footsteps. Instead, Mama Ima appeared at the door. "So," the old woman said, her mouth tight, "after all these years, 3 girls?" Adogo looked up. "They're alive, Mama, your grandchildren." Mama Ima didn't step forward. "You weren't married to give us girls. We need sons. You think this is a blessing?" She turned and left. Adogo's breath caught in her throat. She looked at her daughters. "You are blessings," she whispered, kissing their tiny foreheads. "No matter what they say." That night, Nameka stood in the doorway. His face was blank, hollow. "Get up," he said. I can't. I just gave birth. You can stay a few days, but after that, leave." She stared at him, disbelieving. "Nameka." "I won't waste more years on this shame. 2 miscarriages. Now 3 girls? I have nothing to show." "There are children," she pleaded. "They deserve love." He pointed at the door. "1 week," her voice broke. "Don't do this." But he already had. 3 days later, Adogo packed what little she had. Her body still ached. Her feet were swollen. She wrapped the babies in old cloth and slung one on her back. The landlord's wife gave her a nylon bag. No one else spoke to her. The compound watched silently as she left, whispers trailing behind her like smoke. "She's cursed," someone murmured. 3 girls? Shh. Waste. Adogo didn't look back. She walked toward the road to Umi, step by painful step. The sun was high, the path dry and rough. Her blouse was soaked with milk and sweat. 1 child slept, the other 2 whimpered. By mid-afternoon, she found a bench near a kiosk. Her legs gave out. A middle-aged woman came out of the shop and stared. "You just born?" the woman asked. Adogo nodded. 3? The woman blinked. "Where you they go?" "I don't know." The woman disappeared into her shop. Adogo expected nothing, but minutes later she returned with a bowl of pap and a cup of water. "Eat," she said. "You can't feed babies with an empty stomach." Adogo's hands trembled. "Thank you." The woman said nothing more, just nodded and turned away. That night, Adogo begged the health center guard for a place to sleep. He pointed to the corridor. "So long as you don't block the walkway," she laid 2 wrappers on the floor. The babies slept beside her, tiny bodies rising and falling. She named them as dawn broke. Chisum, the loud one. "God is with me." Chadima, the quiet one. "God is good." Chimankpam, the smallest. "God knows my needs." She repeated, their names like a prayer, like a promise. In the days that followed, whispers spread. The woman with triplets is sleeping in the clinic. Some came to gawk. Others dropped old clothes, near-expired milk, or leftover bread. One widow, Mama Ama, approached with steady steps. "I have a room. It's not much. But you and the children can stay." Adogo didn't ask questions. She followed. The room had no windows, just a curtain for a door. The roof leaked, but it was a start. It was shelter. It was hers. And for the first time in weeks, she exhaled. The room Mama Ama offered was barely large enough to hold a mattress. But to Adogo, it was a palace. No ceiling, just exposed zinc that creaked when the wind blew. No window, only a hole where air squeezed in like an apology. When it rained, the leaks came in 3 places. And when the sun hit, it turned into an oven. But it had walls, a curtain, and space for her daughters to sleep beside her. She was no longer a ghost drifting between benches. She was home. Mornings began before the first rooster crowed. She tied Chimankpam, the smallest, to her back. Chisum and Chadima, barely toddling, held 1 finger each as they walked with her through the dusty streets of Umis. She fetched water for old women too frail to carry buckets. She washed clothes behind compounds, the soap burning cuts in her hands. She peeled cassava for market sellers until her fingers ached and bled. No job was too low, no pay too small. Sometimes she returned home with only a few coins. Other days, just leftover yams or small wraps of Gary. But her children never slept hungry, not if she could help it. The people of Umis watched her, some with pity, some with scorn. "She should give those girls up," one woman whispered in the market. 3 mouths and no husband? She's just wasting her life, another said. Adogo heard them. She just kept walking. By the time the girls were 3, their personalities had bloomed like wildflowers in cracked soil. Chisholm was bold and loud, always the first to speak, always asking why. She mimicked adults, repeated phrases she heard in the streets, and once scolded a drunk man for swearing near her mother. Chadima was observant. She rarely spoke in public, but she saw everything. Where Mama hid the money, which neighbor argued, at night who gave real smiles and who gave fake ones. Chimangpam was unpredictable. She climbed chairs, opened pots, and once attempted to wash their cooking stone with palm oil. She laughed the loudest, cried the quickest, and recovered fastest. The trio followed Adogo like ducklings, one tied to her back, two holding each hand. When she sat to sell ground nuts by the roadside, they sat around her, nibbling and watching. Her world revolved around them. And even on days when her knees trembled with fatigue, she found strength in their laughter. At the village health center, where she had once slept on the floor, Nurse Bella began calling her by name. "You always come here first," the nurse noted, watching Adogo bring in Chimangpam with a fever. "And you ask questions. You pay attention." "I have to," Adogo replied. "If I don't learn, who will help them?" Bella smiled. "You could be a nurse yourself." Adogo chuckled. "I can't read like you." "You're smarter than most," Bella said seriously. "If you ever want to learn even small things, I'll show you." That was how it began. On slow afternoons when there were fewer patients, Bella taught her the basics: how to cool a fever, mix ORS, clean wounds, recognize rashes. Adogo watched, absorbed, and practiced. It wasn't a job, but it was knowledge. And that was its own kind of power. Years passed quietly, but not easily. When the girls turned 5, Adogo knew it was time. "I want them in school," she told Mama. "I'm a one night." The older woman looked over her glasses. "Can you afford it?" "No," Adogo admitted. "But I will." She joined a local women's group, took a small loan, and used half to buy Akara ingredients. The rest went to threadbare, uniforms and plastic sandals. The school was free, but books were not. So she bought one set and made the girls share. She told them to take turns carrying the notebooks to help each other study. On their first day, she walked them to the gate. "You are not less than any child," she said, kneeling to meet their eyes. "You hear me? You are not less." They nodded. Chisholm grabbed her mother's hand tightly. "What if someone laughs at us?" "Then you walk taller," she said, "and make them wonder why." At school, their presence raised eyebrows. 3 girls, same age, same hair, same tattered uniforms. No father ever showed up on visiting days. Just one woman, skin weathered from sun, hands rough, always carrying a plastic bucket filled with ground nuts or mangoes. One teacher asked, "Where's your father?" Chisholm replied, "We don't have one. It's just our mummy." And that was the end of it. The days were long, the nights longer. Adogo fried Akara in front of the health center now. Her stall became known for its crispy edges and spicy sauce. Customers came from the other end of the village. Some came for the food, some came for the story. People called her the woman who was thrown out with triplets and didn't beg. But she never wore her struggle like a badge. She wore it like skin, tight, silent, present in every motion. She still fetched water, still cleaned houses on weekends. She still skipped meals when money was short. But the girls, they were never late to school. They were never unbathed. They never lacked pencils, even if it meant she went barefoot. She poured every ounce of herself into their future. One night, after a long day of frying, she returned home to find Chisholm drawing with charcoal on the floor. "What is that?" she asked. "A building," Chisholm said proudly, "with fans and a water tank and stairs inside." Adogo tilted her head. "Where did you see that?" "I made it up." Adogo smiled, worn but proud. "Maybe you'll build houses one day." "No," Chisholm said. "I'll build hospitals." In the corner, Chadima was flipping through a borrowed school book, sounding out words slowly. "What are you reading?" "About blood," she said. how it moves in the body. Adogo blinked. You understand it? Chadima nodded. I want to be a doctor. Across the room, Chimangpam sat with their old radio in pieces. Adogo rushed over. Hey, you broke it? No, the girl said. I'm fixing it. The voice stopped working. Adogo couldn't help it. She started laughing, a deep, loud laugh, the kind that startled the neighbors and made the girls stare at her with big eyes. She laughed until she cried. They thought she'd gone mad, but she was just relieved. Later that night, as they all curled on the single mattress, she whispered to the ceiling, God, if I die tomorrow, let someone see them. Let someone help them go far. But God didn't answer that night. So she decided she would be the one. She would carry them, no matter what. The air in Umis was changing, not the weather, but the way people spoke when the triplets passed by. Once, they were those poor girls with no father. Now they were Chisholm, Chadima, and Chimangpam. Names whispered with curiosity, sometimes even admiration. By the time they turned 10, the whispers had evolved. That one, Chisholm, she fixed the electrician's socket. The quiet one? Chadima? She reads medical books. The last one? I heard she fixed the headmaster's computer. The village watched them grow. What began as a burden became a phenomenon. But to Adogo, they were still just her girls. Her miracles. Her responsibility. Chisholm spent most of her free time near the roadside workshop of a broken radio technician named Uncle Oga. She never asked to learn, she just watched. Every afternoon after school, she'd sit cross-legged on the ground, eyes fixed on his hands as he twisted wires, tested fuses, and cursed under his breath. One day, he caught her sketching the inside of a transistor radio on the back of a math test paper. You want to steal my job, Ain? He said with a scowl. She froze, wide-eyed. Then he grinned. Come tomorrow. I'll teach you how not to kill yourself with electricity. From then on, she became his unofficial apprentice. By 12, she rewired the landlord's faulty stove. By 13, she could sketch entire floor plans by hand. Chadima didn't hang around technicians or workshops. She was often found at the local health center, sitting quietly in the corner as nurses moved from one patient to another. What are you doing here again? Nurse Bella asked. Learning, she replied. I want to be a doctor. You know how long that takes? Yes. You know how expensive it is? Yes. Bella chuckled. You know too much. Still, she let her stay. She even gave her old textbooks, ones with highlighted diagrams and dog-eared pages. Chadima devoured them. She asked questions that made nurses pause. If this is typhoid, why is the patient's stool yellow? Can sickle cell be cured with stem cells? She wasn't just curious. She was relentless. Chimangpam was different. She lived in a second-hand laptop donated by a missionary group. It was barely working. Cracked screen, missing keys, but she figured out how to fix it. Then she figured out how to bypass the outdated OS. Then she discovered online coding tutorials. At night, while her sisters read or slept, she typed in silence, the glow of the screen illuminating her face. What are you doing? Adogo once asked. I'm building something. For school? No, for the future. Adogo didn't understand half of it, but she recognized the intensity in her daughter's eyes. It was the same fire she'd once used to survive. They still slept on mats. They still bathed from buckets. The roof still leaked, and Adogo still woke at 4 a.m. to fry akara, but something had changed. Hope had a rhythm now. It beat inside their one-room home, between book pages, in the clack of keyboard keys, in the scribble of blueprints and medical notes. One Saturday morning, the headmaster himself came to see Adogo. He stood awkwardly by her akara stand, holding his hat in both hands. Madam, he began, your girls, they are exceptional. She wiped her hands on her apron and nodded. They work hard. We're submitting names for a scholarship program, an NGO in Lagos, top students in the local government. They must write essays, sit for an exam. Only 5 will be chosen. Is it for university? Secondary school first. Then, if they keep up, university too. Adogo's breath caught. How much does it cost? It's free. Her eyes narrowed. Completely? He smiled. Completely. That night, she didn't sleep. She watched her daughters in the dim light, huddled together over books, pencils scratching. She thought of that day under the rain, when she carried them on her back, stomach empty, feet blistered. She whispered to herself, "Let this be the door." The girls took the exams in different rooms. The essay topic was, "What would you change in your village and why?" Chisom wrote about building infrastructure, clean water, and renewable energy. Chadima wrote about rural health education and mobile clinics. Chimankpam proposed digital access for poor students. 2 weeks later, the results came. All 3 were in the top 5. They didn't just pass. They ranked first, second, and third. The village buzzed. Some rejoiced. Others mumbled dark things about juju or luck that doesn't last. But Adogo didn't care. Her girls had earned it. The scholarship covered their tuition, uniforms, books, and transport for the next 6 years. One NGO officer, a middle-aged woman, in glasses, came to visit their home. She looked around, bare walls leaking zinc, worn-out mats. She said nothing. But 2 weeks later, a package arrived. A laptop, a mattress, 3 pairs of shoes. They screamed with joy. Adogo watched from the doorway, silent tears in her eyes. Far away, in Umiki, Nameka's house was quiet, but not peaceful. His second wife, Amaka, had given him a son, Obina, who was sickly from birth. At first, Nameka told everyone the boy was a lion cub, a true heir. But from his 3rd week, the boy struggled to breathe. Every cough led to crisis. Every rainy season brought hospital visits, malaria, anemia, asthma, one illness after another. Nameka sold his generator, then his motorbike, then his remaining timber stock. The shed where he once carved elegant chairs now sat empty. He no longer built anything, except regret. Amaka, once patient, now bitter, began traveling to the city for her teaching job and stayed longer each time. "I'm the one carrying everything," she snapped one evening. "You bring me problems, not solutions." He sat on the floor, holding a bottle of cheap gin. "Maybe this child's sickness is your punishment," she spat. "Don't say that. I should have listened to my mother. A man who rejects his blood, what good can come from him?" He looked up, eyes hollow. "You think this is what I wanted?" "I don't care what you wanted," she said. "I care that you've turned this house into a graveyard." That weekend, she didn't return. The next month, Obina collapsed again. The local clinic was out of oxygen. He died before sunrise. At the burial, only 5 people came. One neighbor whispered, "Maybe he's paying for his sins." Nameka didn't speak, didn't cry, didn't eat. Days after the burial, his landlord handed him an envelope. "1 month," the man said. "You have to go. I need paying tenants." "I'll find the money," Nameka said. The man shook his head. "You used to be something. What happened?" Nameka didn't answer. He packed his life into one sack, a few shirts, his Bible, a rusted carpenter's square, and a cracked photo of Obina at age 5. He moved into an abandoned half-built house on the edge of the village. No doors, no windows, no roof on one side. He used mosquito netting to keep out rain. Sometimes it worked, mostly it didn't. He thought of Adogo, not with love, with shame. He pictured her face, crying at the gate, arms full of babies. He remembered what his mother said. That day, she is bad luck. Chase her before she ruins you. He believed it then. Now, sitting on cold cement with nothing but silence around him, he wondered, had he chased his luck away? The morning air outside Ogi Junction was heavy with dust and diesel. Vendors shouted. Over each other, horns blared, and tired passengers shuffled toward overcrowded buses. No one noticed the thin, frail man staggering past the bread stall, gripping his chest. Nameka tried to breathe. The world spun. He reached out for a parked motorcycle, missed, and collapsed face first onto the gravel. Gasps followed. Is he dead? Someone. Help! Within minutes, he was loaded into the back of a Kiki and rushed to the nearest clinic. His shirt was soaked in sweat, lips cracked, eyes glassy. The nurses checked his pulse. BP is high, he's dehydrated, collapsed due to exhaustion, maybe worse. No ID, no relatives, just one broken man, barely conscious, barely hanging on. By noon, they'd transferred him to St. Teresa's Hospital in Enugu. It was a government-run facility with chipped tiles and overworked staff. But in one corner of Ward B, a young doctor moved with sharp focus and soft hands. Dr. Chidima Okeke. She reviewed patient charts like puzzles she was born to solve. Her voice was calm but firm, her lab coat crisp, her stethoscope always within reach. She didn't waste time. She didn't show off, but everyone listened when she spoke. That afternoon, a nurse approached her at the nurses' station. Doctor, emergency case from the outskirts, male, collapsed on the roadside. He's in, bed 16, no ID. Chidima nodded, picked up her tablet, and walked down the hallway. The curtain around bed 16 was pulled halfway. She drew it back gently. The man on the bed looked ancient. His clothes hung off his bones. His arms were riddled with scars and sun-darkened skin. His breathing was shallow. She checked the chart. Nameka Ease. She paused. Something tugged at her. Sir, she said, touching his shoulder lightly. He stirred. Where am I? His voice was barely audible. You're in St. Teresa's Hospital. You collapsed. You're stable now. I don't have money. She offered a faint smile. You're under the community emergency program. Don't worry. He stared at her for a moment. You look familiar. She shook her head. Rest for now. We'll run more tests in the morning. As she turned to walk away, his name echoed. In her mind again. Nameka. She blinked. Her mother had mentioned that name once. Just once. Quietly. Painfully. She pulled out her phone. Mommy? Chidima. Adogo's voice was warm. Doctor, you remembered to call me today, Ann? Mommy, wait. I have a patient. He's old, sick. Said his name is Nameka. Silence. Then, what did you say? Nameka Ease. A long pause. Mommy? I need to call you back, Adogo said. Her voice was tight. Then the line went dead. 2 days later, Chidima was updating patient charts when she heard someone ask for her at reception. She walked out and froze. Her mother stood there, dressed in her best lace wrapper, eyes steady, breath shallow. Where is he? She asked. Chidima blinked. You came? I need to see him. Take me there. Wordlessly, she led her mother through the hallway toward Ward B. Each step felt like stepping into a river that had long dried up. Cold, strange, but undeniable. At bed 16, Chidima drew back the curtain. Nameka sat up, eating slowly from a bowl of rice. His hands trembled. The spoon clattered. He looked up and dropped the spoon. Adogo's face didn't change. But her eyes, they burned. Adogo, he whispered, stunned. She didn't speak. He tried to rise. His legs buckled. He fell back against the pillows. You're here, he stammered. After all these years. Chidima turned to her mother, confused. Mommy, do you know this man? Adogo's voice was quiet. Steel. This is your father." The words shattered something in the room. Chadima's knees weakened. She backed away slightly. Her breath caught. "The man. Who threw us out?" she asked. Adogo nodded. "Yes, the man who called you curses, who said we were nothing." Tears filled Nameka's eyes. He shook as he reached for Chadima's hand. "I didn't know. You're my daughter?" She stared at him. No emotion. "Just clarity." "I need time," she said, and walked out. Nameka wept openly, shoulders heaving. Adogo remained. She stepped closer. He looked up. "Do you remember?" she asked. "What the old midwife told you?" He blinked. "What?" "She said those girls were born under Ikuwani, the rare blessing. She said your fortune would come through them." "I was afraid," he said. "No, you were proud," she snapped. "And now you are empty." Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. She turned and left, curtains swinging behind her. He was alone again. This time, fully aware of what he'd lost. That night, in the guest room at Chadima's flat, Adogo sat on the edge of the bed, holding a weathered photo album. Birthdays, awards, graduation days, worn edges, faded ink, preserved memories. Chadima sat beside her. "How did you forgive him?" she asked. "I didn't forgive him for him," Adogo said. "I forgave him for me. Bitterness is a poison you drink hoping someone else will suffer." "But he threw us away." "Yes," Adogo said. "And yet here you are, a doctor. Not because of him, but in spite of him." They sat in silence for a long time. Then Adogo reached over and squeezed her daughter's hand. "Strength is not always revenge," she said. "Sometimes it's not passing down the pain." The next morning, Chadima walked back into Ward B. Nameka sat hunched on the bed, his eyes sunken, voice cracked. "I didn't deserve your kindness," he said. "I didn't even recognize you." Chadima stood by the bed, hands in her pockets. "I was 7 when I fainted in school from hunger," she said. 12 when I decided I'd become a doctor, so no child would suffer like we did." He cried again. "I studied by candlelight," she continued. "Sold mangoes to buy books, slept on mats, carried water before sunrise." "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I don't need your apology," she said. "I just need you to understand. We made it without you." He nodded slowly, swallowing hard. "There's a care program," she said. "We'll move you there once you're stable. You'll be looked after. But after that, we go our separate ways." He closed his eyes. She turned and walked away. Outside, the sun was rising, and for the first time, Nameka felt its warmth, but not on his skin. On the life he never knew. The house stood at the edge of the village, just past the mango grove, where the soil was soft, and the wind carried the scent of new rain. It had tiled floors, a small veranda, a borehole, and solar panels that kept the single bulb glowing even during outages. There were lace curtains on the windows and a well-worn armchair in the corner of the living room, one that Adogo had picked herself from the used furniture market. It wasn't grand, but it was hers, built by her daughters, paid for with their first salaries. When people passed, they didn't call her the woman with the triplets anymore. They said, "That's Mama Doctor," or Mama Engineer, or Mama Tech. She never corrected them. They were all right. Chisholm lived in Abuja now, working for a construction firm that specialized in eco-friendly buildings. She designed solar-powered schoolhouses and low-cost clinics. Her first paycheck had gone straight to Adogo. "I bought you new slippers, Mama, not the rubber ones." "I still have feet," Adogo had joked. "Don't waste money. Then I'll buy you socks, too." Chimankpam was based in Lagos. She ran a tech consultancy, managing data, infrastructure for clients in the UK and Canada. Most of her work happened from a modest apartment with fiber internet and 3 monitors blinking in constant sync. She rarely spoke, but when she did, her words landed like nails. "Mama," she once said, "your fire is in my code." Chadima, of course, still worked at St. Teresa's. She lived in a flat close to the hospital and visited her mother monthly. She brought groceries, extra medication, and sometimes a new dress folded neatly in a bag. "Doctor dress," Adogo would tease, touching the fabric. "Too fine for someone who plays with blood." Chadima always laughed. Despite the distance, the triplets stayed close. Their group chat buzzed daily with jokes, voice notes, and emojis. They sent money without being asked. On birthdays, they video called from different cities, singing off-key until someone ended the call from laughter. But once a year, they came home. All of them. Together. That weekend had arrived again. Under the mango tree behind the house, the three women sat barefoot, eating roasted corn and groundnuts, sharing updates. "Lagos traffic is a disease," Chimangpam muttered. "Abuja drivers are the real threat," Chesum countered. "They signal left and turn right." "You both need to relax," Chadima said. "Come do night shifts with me. That's real pressure." They all laughed, the same way they had when they were kids. Three girls with one mattress and shared dreams. Later, the conversation turned. "To him?" Chisholm asked. Chadima nodded. "He's still at the care home, quiet, sick, but stable." "Did he ask for us?" Chimangpam asked. He did. Silence stretched between them like old fabric. "Are we going?" Chisum finally asked. Chimangpam shook her head. "I don't think we need to." "We already forgave him," Chadima said. "In our own way." Chisum nodded. "What did Mama say?" "She said we should never hate," Chadima replied. "But we're not required to return to where we were once abandoned." They didn't speak more on it. There was nothing left to debate. Their peace didn't need his apology. Inside the house, Adogo sat near the window, sewing a torn wrapper, listening to the distant sound of her daughter's laughter. She didn't move to join them. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. Every giggle, every word was a seed she'd once planted, now in full bloom. Her fingers paused on the cloth. She closed her eyes. She remembered the rain that morning, years ago, her swollen feet, the sound of the babies crying, the road that stretched too far. She remembered hunger, silence, whispers behind her back, the days she thought she wouldn't make it, the nights she held one child to her chest while the other two whimpered in her lap. She remembered frying akara with shaking hands, fetching water with cracked heels, sewing uniforms out of old curtains, carrying all her pain with dignity, never asking, never folding. And now the house had a lock, the walls had paint, the laughter had returned. She opened her eyes and whispered a prayer, not for protection, not even for gratitude, just for rest, for knowing she had done enough. Across the village, Nameka sat by the window of the care facility. He wore a clean shirt, donated by a local church. His meals came at regular hours. His bed was firm. The nurses were kind, but no one visited. He watched people pass outside the gate and wondered which ones were his. He remembered the sound of 3 cries in one afternoon, the look in Adogo's eyes, the hand he never reached for. He whispered their names now, like spells. Chisum, Chadima, Chimangpam, but no one answered. He had made his choice. They had made theirs, and this quiet was his consequence. Back under the mango tree, the sun dipped low. Chisum stretched her legs. "I still think we should build Mama a second room. She doesn't want it," Chimangpam said. "She needs it. She'll turn it into a food store." They laughed again. Adogo finally stepped outside, wiping her hands on a cloth. "You people are making noise like primary school children," she said, smiling. "We are," Chadema replied, "but your children." The four of them sat there as the sky shifted from gold to indigo. No pain, no ghosts, no apologies needed, only presence, only love. In the final silence of dusk, as the first stars blinked awake, Adogo looked at her daughters, each shaped by the world, yet untouched by bitterness. She said nothing. She didn't have to. The world had tried to crush them and failed. If you watched till the end, comment the word resilience, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with your friends and family.